Hey, what's up, guys? Gonna be doing my final thoughts on the Spyderco Military. So, first off, pretty big knife for those of you that don't know. Um, it's a 4-inch blade, 5.5-inch handle. It's big. Compared to other knives that are also big, it is still big. Maybe not to cold steel, but to to a lot of knives, it's a big knife. So. On SOCOM Elite, two bigger knives, definitely at the higher end for most people's EDC. Here is a Hinderer 3.5 inch. Here's a Strider SMG. This is an XM18. And then we'll do one more. Two more. So we got the ProTech TR4. And we have the Benchmade Anthem. So, big knife. Super big knife. Or not super big, but it's pretty fucking big. Yeah. So, a couple things I like about this. I like the overall design. I think it has a lot to offer, even today. This is a 20-year-old knife. 20-year-old design, I should say. This is the newest version of it. But really, not a lot has changed. From that initial release of this knife. So, real quick, just going to get into it. The arch that goes through this entire design really allows you to put a lot of force down in cutting. It does more than that, but it does definitely allow you to put a ton of power into this edge right here and just obliterate things. And people like to say that the PM2, the military, and the Power 3 are incredible slicers. They're really not. Behind the edge thickness is actually kind of on the, not thicker end. It certainly isn't a fatty Hinderer. But nonetheless, it's not super thin. To put it into perspective, both the Strider, this guy, and the SOCOM are thinner behind the edge than the military. So, what do I attribute the cutting performance to? First off, that design element we just talked about. So, that arch allows you to put a ton of force into a cut. More force, more efficient distribution of force to the edge. Awesome. Good stuff. Other than that, this distal taper grind, it's something that a lot of people take for granted that are Spyderco fans, but not every company is doing this. In fact, really, you don't see it too often other than in Spyderco's. So, distal taper gets thinner as it goes towards the tip. So, it's kind of like a full flat grind all the way to the tip, and then they full flat grind it down to the edge down here. So I think those two things together kind of help this knife out. Real quick, let's talk about the lock. So it's a liner lock. A lot of people don't seem to like them. This is actually one of the best liner locks I think the industry has to offer at the moment in terms of a production knife. I'm talking. So what it is it's a fail-safe liner lock. Okay, so how does that work? I drew it out for you right here. Actually, I did it a few times because I've made this video a couple times and I have not liked the way it turns out. So what we have here is, this is what the lock face looks like. So I'm going to show you the knife. You can see it kind of has a curve to it. I'm talking about right here or here. So right here has a curve. So you can see it's a radius tang, they call it, I think. What do I know? But so this is a picture of a side view of that tang, and here's the liner interacting with that lock face, or blade tang, sorry. So on a traditional knife, I think a lot of people know this, but I'm going to draw it out anyway. So a bunch of different ways to do lock faces. But like if you're looking at a Strider, Hinderer, even the SOCOM, pretty much all of them are going to be like this. So let's make this the SOCOM. So it's just a straight cut, you know? And if a force is applied down on this, so negative force to the blade, meaning think of like a spine whack. So something like that. This tang is going to push this down and knock this guy out of the way. I would imagine that the majority of the time that your lock fails, the blade is going to close and possibly cut you. So what this does is negative force applied to the blade. So that same spine whack we just reviewed pretty much applies the same forces on this same model here. The only difference is right here, and I already have it circled because again, I made this video like 1,000 times, but the idea behind it, and I don't want to use anecdotal evidence because it's not very good, but I've done this before. So say the military encounters a pretty strong strike or negative force on the back of the blade. This goes down, the liner moves over, but it's going to stop. At least the few times that I've had that happen to the knife, it has not failed. And that includes batoning. So I had one of these back in the day before they updated it. One of the old school with the aluminum backspacer. And I took it out of the box and I thought, oh, it's the Spyderco Military. I was probably 15 or 14 at the time. I thought, oh, it's the Spyderco Military. I can baton with this knife. And I did just that, and I fucked up the lock, but it didn't fail. In fact, the lock bent. So you could shake the knife, and it would have up and down play, and it would lock up late as fuck. But the knife never actually failed, which is huge. I mean, I don't really care too much about lock strength. Is it going to focus? Maybe not. There we go. Is that just how it looks? Oh, yeah, it is. But it certainly does not hurt to have. Next thing. I guess we'll talk about some negatives real quick. So, not a super beefy pivot. I'm going to take, what is it, a T15? T10, T15. Here we go. So it's a big pivot screw, but the pivot itself is not that big. So you can see in there, it's all right, but I mean, really, and it's kind of being overly picky with the knife. It's just something I've kind of grown to expect. You know, you look at the Hinderers, the Striders, even Microtech, they have super beefy pivots because if anything did happen with the knife in terms of like lateral stress on the knife. Did I put that on right? Let's see here. The pivot would be pretty much the first thing to break 9 times out of 10. Here we go. So, loosen it a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Shouldn't have done this on camera. Sorry, guys. Solid. Perfect. But yeah, what was I saying? So, with a lot of the knives I have now, they have super strong pivots. So this goes all the way through. Like, this dot right here in the middle of the pivot is this screw. So it's a solid pivot. This circle right here in the middle is this back here. So solid. And then this guy just has a gigantic pivot. I Loctited it, so I'm not going to take it apart, but maybe I'll make a video on it. So yeah, I mean, that's one negative, I guess. For the price, you really can't get too mad at it, though. What else can I talk about? Lanyard hole will fit cord. I don't really care about that. Oh, yeah, so pocket clip. Let's talk about that real quick. A lot of people don't seem to be hip to this method of carry. Now, bigger knives, right? Manual action, both of them. Tip down only. Coincidence? I don't think so. So, here's what I've gathered. And Vinny from Neuro Knives already has a video out on this. Basically, he breaks it down to you need a big fucking hand to be able to reach into your pocket, grab your knife, however you grab it, and flick the military out. You'd need to have a gigantic hand. Same with this. Even if you grab it up here, you're still not going to be able to deploy the knife. But if you pluck it out of your pocket and just, deploy it like that, it's a lot easier. One thing that I've noticed, though, is these knives carry really, really well in the back pocket. So I just throw the military or the SOCOM, either one, in my back pocket. A couple nice things about this. The blade rests against the seam of your pocket. So if this pops open, odds are it's going to shut. Because, again, it's up against the seam of your pocket. If it's sitting in your front pocket, pops open, who knows? I mean, and here's another thing I just thought of. Say, you reach your hand in, it'll probably close the blade. But do you want to be reaching in your front pocket, abrading your hand against this jimping to get to your phone 50 to 100 times a day? Not 100, or really even 50. But however much you use your phone, do you want to abrade your hand on the jimping? I think it's pretty clear that carrying in your back pocket for tip down only is kind of the way to go. Doesn't seem like a lot of people are hip to that, though. Action is good. Some of these militaries will drop shut when they're new. For whatever reason, every single one I've had, and I still have an M4 Jade G10 one, they stopped doing it for God only knows why. But not a huge deal. I know some people are big into the action. I tend to close my knife like this. I just grab it and then close it. Trying to think if I'm missing anything. Oh, wait. So this knife is 9.5 inches overall. For a knife of that size, it's pretty uncommon for a knife to be as light as the military is. So for the G10 version, you're looking at about 4.5 ounces. Not a lot. Carbon fiber is probably about 4.2, 4.3. Doesn't save you a ton of weight, but I think it looks cool, and whatever. It's past the point of diminishing returns for most people, but I like what I like, So yeah, super impressive how light this is. And I even go as far to say, if you if you're a big collector, you might just want to pick one of these guys up and just leave it in your, in a bag or something, like a to-go bag or whatever, bug-out bag. I don't know if people still do that. Do people do bug-out bags? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's a superb knife. It's not the toughest, strongest knife on the planet. It'll get the job done in nearly all EDC tasks. Of course, I love everything overkill. I mean, carrying a knife as a whole is already somewhat overkill when you think about it. I mean, these do exist. Most people could do everything they need to do with one of these, but it's not my style, you know? I mean, it's pretty weak, this design. I mean, it's not weak, maybe it is structurally, but it's just, there's no soul to it, if that makes sense. But with the military, I feel like you're getting such a good performer for a pretty decent price. They did just increase the price again. Spyderco is doing this a ton for I don't know why. But at one point these knives were about, I don't know, $140 on Amazon. That was a few years ago, but now they're probably around $170 to $200 for a new one. I recommend going used. You can find a sprint run used of any military. They're not super highly sought after either, because a lot of people don't care for knives this big. And the Para 2 and Para 3 are just a lot more EDC friendly for more people. So these, you can usually find a sprint run for $150, which really isn't bad for a Spyderco sprint run. If you're gonna get into sprint runs, you may as well start with the military. It's gonna be the cheapest and easiest to collect. I mean, if you like the military, that's a bonus too. I really enjoy the military. What else can I say? Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Super nice design. Spydercos are kind of basic when you really look at them. If you're first getting into collecting, they're super cool. But after a while, for whatever reason, they kind of just simmered out for me. And that's not me hating. I mean, I've owned probably 50 Spydercos over the past few years, you know? So I definitely like the knives. I like the people behind it. Warranty might not be so good. I don't know what their warranty is like. It's I can tell you one thing. It's definitely nowhere to the degree Microtex is. And with the I mean, if you use your knives, there's a chance you'll need to, you know, utilize the warranty. I beat the fuck out of this, and it's in impeccable shape. So a lot of times I feel like you won't even need the warranty, but it's always just nice to have. It's all about peace of mind. I mean, that's why we carry knives to begin with. That's why we carry guns. Some people carry more than that. Some people carry, you know, tourniquets. People carry lights. That's a little more normal. Although I do think nowadays carrying a tourniquet is kind of a smart thing. I mean, I drive a lot, and you'll see some pretty gnarly crashes, and if you know how to use a tourniquet, it could save a life, save one life. It's well worth it. However, that's all I have to say about this guy. I'm not going to say this is a knife for everybody. I'm not going to say I'd definitely pick one up. If you like big knives, which I do, if you like, I mean, just lightweight, super functional designs, I think that this might be a knife to check out for you. I don't know though, because it seems like a lot of people don't like the military. Maybe I don't know something that they do, but as it stands now, definitely recommend you at least get one in hand, experience it, and if you can, maybe DM someone on Instagram, see like, hey, you know, or if you find one come up for stupid cheap, you know, I've seen these go for $75 on Instagram. It's ridiculous, but if you see it, pull the trigger, especially at that price. If not, I don't know, maybe DM someone, say, hey, you know, can I check this knife out, whatever. I mean, you might not like it. That's just the reality of it. It's a huge knife, tip down only. I can't say it enough. It's just not for everybody. That's how it is. But it's for me, so that's all that really matters. But I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I will see you in the next. Bye.